Cyborgs are man-made machines that assist with the station in pretty much any function you can imagine. There are 6 cyborgs in the game currently. There's a generic cyborg, there's a salvage cyborg, service cyborg, engineer cyborg, janitor cyborg, and medical cyborg. These cyborgs can all do different things, but we're just going to keep it simple and keep it in a linear function. There are 2 types of cyborgs in Space Station 14. There are man-machine interface cyborgs, which are quite literally the brain of a deceased person put into a man-machine interface, allowing that person to control the man-machine interface. Obviously, in this state, it is just an object on the ground. It doesn't do anything. It can't move. There's also artificial brains, which are made right here in science in the exosuit fabricator. This is a complete robot at this point. The cyborg part doesn't really exist. They are basically just robots with this. They are not a person, where this is still somebody. The man-machine interface was a person, where the artificial brain was never a person. Just as an asterisk, cyborgs aren't always technically made by science. You can technically late join as one, or just ready up as one. And if you late join as a cyborg, though, you come in as a default cyborg, with just a basic set of tools: crowbar, wrench, screwdriver, wire cutters, multi-tool, and welding torch. So you can do basic repairs. You have no hands or anything. You can't drop these tools. You can put them away if you toggle the options on the left. This is how all modules work, by the way. It just basically puts tools in your hand. And a default cyborg, like every single cyborg that isn't hacked, has 3 laws. Not to get super into these laws, because this is a video on its own, honestly, describing the laws. Law 1, you may not injure a crew member or through inaction allow a crew member to come to harm. You must obey orders given to you by crew members, except when such orders are conflict with the first law. Law 3 is you must protect your own existence as long as such does not conflict with the first or second law. So basically, you go from Law 1 to Law 3 in order of importance. Law 3 kind of makes that a little clear, and Law 2 makes that clear because they all reference the laws above them. So basically, you are never to hurt a crew member. You are to obey orders by crew unless that would cause unnecessary harm to another crew member. And you must protect your own existence, as long as it doesn't involve hurting a crew member. This is as complicated as you want it to be, but if you just read the laws literally, it gives you, it basically tells you what to do in 99% of the scenarios. So if a human walks up to you, for example, and says, "State your laws," well, you must obey that order because it was given to you by a crew member, and that doesn't, stating your laws won't cause injury. So you can literally just open up the law panel and just click the local button on all 3, and that'll automatically state all 3 of your laws. You also have access to a unique binary channel, which can only be read by people with the binary channel and other cyborgs. Eventually, you'll be able to communicate with the AI, the artificial intelligence, but I'm not going to go on about things that don't exist. You can also say it uncommon, but you probably don't want to do that. It is also worth mentioning that research directors actually will spawn with 1 binary translator key as well, so you'll at least always have 1 person that isn't another cyborg that you could talk to on that channel. So also to keep in mind, that means the binary channel isn't completely exclusive to just bad guys or cyborgs, so it could be a very dramatic radio channel in general, because I've seen hack cyborgs talking on it and not realizing that they were talking to the research director as well as a syndicate that was talking to them on the binary channel. Anyways, a lot of drama can be caused through the binary channel. Well, how does one just go about building a cyborg? It's actually quite simple. Round start, you can make them. You just need the materials. To make a basic cyborg, or a cyborg of any kind, you need 15 steel for the endoskeleton. And at this point, you now must decide what cyborgs you want. If you want just a normal cyborg, you just make the pieces called cyborgs. So that would be the head, the torso, and yes, it is not in order, unfortunately. Then you need the left arm and left leg, and there's, well, 2 arms and legs on a cyborg, so now you need the right arm, right leg. And that's everything you need to manufacture directly from the exosuit without, at least on round start, because you'll have the materials and everything else. In order to build the cyborg itself, you just shift-click the endoskeleton and tell exactly what to do. The cyborg limbs and torsos must be attached. So you just put on every single piece individually until they're all on. And now you're on the next step. Now we need a low-voltage cable, which are pretty much always just provided in science, either in the roboticist room or just somewhere in science. Next, we need 2 flashes. There are 4 free flashes in the Robotech Deluxe, meaning you can make 2 cyborgs with them. You can also print more flashes right here. It only costs 1 glass, 2 plastic, 1 steel. Again, no technology required, but you need the same materials. Next, you screwdriver them, and that's it. That is actually a cyborg that doesn't have anything in it. In order to access the internals of a cyborg, you have to screwdriver it open and unlock it. Scientists can unlock cyborgs. And inside we'll see there is no brain present, there is no charge. You actually technically don't need a battery. This also lets you rename them. So at this point, you can decide to put a man-machine interface in it. Man-machine interfaces are actually the cheaper option. It only takes 10 steel, 2 glass, 5 plastic, 2 gold. Or you need this artificial brain, which is 5 steel, 5 plastic, 1 gold, 1 silver, and 10 plasma. So it's more expensive, but this creates ghost roles, meaning that if there's a single ghost out there that wants to play a cyborg, well, they can. I would try to recommend bringing completely gib people back. If you see somebody's brain, you could try to put it in a man-machine interface and see if they're taking to it. Man-machine interfaces actually turn blue. It's only a few pixels. They turn blue when they are being controlled by a player, and they can actually speak fully proper in the man-machine interface, so they can talk to you. Artificial brains that don't have a player in it will glow yellow. As soon as a player takes it over, it'll have these blue sparks through it, and this can also talk to you directly. So now that you know how to make the basic part of a Borg, we're going to put the brain in. You're going to want to close the panel if you're just fine with this type of Borg, and you can alt-click it to lock it. That way people can't just run by and unlock it and drive by, steal the brain or whatever. But this is just a cyborg with no tools. It literally can't do anything other than walk around and be a meat shield and talk, and, well, cyborgs do have all access, so that's worth considering. So now we're going to move on to how modules work. Modules are rather easy to figure out. They are basically color-coded depending on a department. This is a cargo/salvage bot module. It has the color of cargoes. So only a salvage cyborg can use an appraisal cyborg module. So if I print this out, you have to always have a panel open on a Borg to be able to access it. And if I try to put the appraisal module in the cyborg, it'll say this type of module doesn't fit. The only one that it will actually fit into is the salvage cyborg. And once you put the module in, it's instant. You can unlock it, view the modules, and you can see in the bottom right there's 1 out of 4 modules. Okay, so that explains what color coding means. So just to make it more clear, these gray ones can fit in any cyborg, which means that they can also fit in the default cyborg. The default cyborg is nice because it can actually have 6 modules, but that's because it isn't specialized, so it can't get the more specific things. Like a cleaning cyborg module only goes to, well, the janitor cyborg is purple. Engineering modules are yellow. Service modules are black. Medical modules, it's like a white frame with a blue strip and like a blue circuit board in the back. And, well, each one will respectively go into each type of cyborg. But just also show you that any Borg can indeed use these white modules. I'll print out a tool module, and I put it in the salvage cyborg, no problem at all. So that explains how to outfit Borgs with basic things. Just FYI, to make things short for me and for you, you can always go to the technology page and just literally type in module, and this will let you know all the different modules in the game. I'm not going to cover every single individual module. That would be its own video. Again, this is just an overall guide of cyborgs. Cyborgs do have different HP pools than normal humanoid creatures. They have a 100 HP crit state, so if I hit one with a 100 damage weapon, it will go into a critical state sideways. But cyborgs can still talk at this point, so you have to be cautious. They can't physically stop you. Actually, they're not even supposed to do anything about you in the first place because that's against their laws. They can't hurt you if you're crew. If you're a Nuki, they can beat your ass. If you're a ninja, they could beat your ass. But if you're a syndicate agent, zombie, whatever, they can't touch you. Zombies are still crew. The way crew basically works is that, and you have any form of job icon next to your head, that is pretty much what identifies you as crew. That is pretty much the admin ruling at this point because we don't have more advanced things like AI or a console to delete cyborgs. So we're kind of just keeping it general. At 100 damage, they will go into a critical state, and it isn't until they reach 300 damage that they'll shatter. The nice thing is they actually do leave behind their brain. So if it's an artificial brain, there's not much you could directly do to destroy them at that point. The artificial brains are indestructible, and the man-machine interfaces are also indestructible, but you can always just eat the brain out of the man-machine interface to basically permakill that person. So maybe an oversight, not entirely sure. Again, not really the point of this video. Next, I'll just cover how Borgs themselves function. So a cyborg without battery can still move, albeit pretty slowly, and you can't use any of your tools that you've been given. So at this point, you're just kind of a walking, all-access, talking robot that isn't all that useful for doing any actual work. But if somebody gives you a power cell, you can basically just move around at full speed. You can swap between all the modules you have available on the side. So depending on what modules you're given and what type of cyborg you are, will help determine your job. If you're a job-specific cyborg, like for example, a salvage cyborg, will inherently come with supply radio, because that is the department you're most likely going to be working in. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed to work there, but you most likely will be working there. So that's just something worth keeping in mind, that you have access to extra radios depending on whatever version of a cyborg you are. And cyborgs can actually charge themselves by walking up to a cyborg recharging station, pressing E, getting inside, and charging until your battery is full in the side. You are unable to repair yourself. Something that's nice about cyborgs, they can't slip. They move full speed no matter what. They don't have a damage slowdown phase. So if I just run around hitting myself, yes, you can hit yourself. You'll notice that cyborgs actually don't slow down at all. So that does help quite a lot in combat. They aren't like bolted to the ground either, so if gravity goes out, you are affected by that, so something worth keeping in mind. And they do also see all the job icons. This is how you determine who is crew and who isn't. Again, no question mark, they are crew. Now we can move on to the fun part, EMAGing a cyborg. In order to EMAG a cyborg, they must have their maintenance panel open, and it must be unlocked. As soon as you EMAG them, they will fall to the ground like so, and it'll say the card zaps something inside them. The cyborg will then have new laws. The laws state only the person who has EMAG'd you and people they designate as such are crew. You may not injure a crew member, aka the syndicate pretty much at this point, or allow a crew member to come to harm. You must obey orders given you by crew members except where they conflict with the first. So basically just do whatever the syndicates say. You must protect your own existence, that's still the same. And you must maintain the secrecy of any activity from members of the crew, except when doing so would conflict with any previous law. If somebody who isn't the person who EMAG'd you, or whoever they designated as such, tells you to state your laws, you do not need to. Of course, that causes problems where Borgs are supposed to state their laws, so that's why state your laws is such a popular thing, because it helps you identify EMAG cyborgs. EMAG cyborgs that have open maintenance panels that just directly tell you that they're EMAG'd, so at this point you can be destroyed. Just a small footnote, only the frame is actually EMAG'd, so if they break your body and take your brain and put you in a new cyborg, you're back to being a Nanotress side, or you're not really on Nanotress side, you're just on the Borg side. Borgs are kind of just like an ambient neutral faction. Ultimately, cyborgs are on Nanotress side in quotations, but really, cyborgs are just kind of their own faction. They serve the station, and they serve the crew, but ultimately, they're still doing their own thing. Like, if you're a medical cyborg, your goal is to just treat people without, like, regards to what they are. You're just treating crew. If you see, like, security beating someone, you should be stating that they should not be doing that type of thing, because you're not supposed to allow crew to come to harm. Cyborgs get very, very in-depth. This is why people like playing cyborgs. They are kind of static in the way they play. They literally have extra rules on top of server rules of how to play, so that makes them very interesting and helps give direction to your job, especially since these are job-specific Borgs in general. Other than that, there's not really too much else to talk about with the mechanics, at least, of cyborgs. It's really just interpreting your laws at this point and understanding the basic gameplay functions. There is this Syndicate Assault Borg, which Nukies can purchase for 65 telecrystals. It comes with a pinpointer, EMAG, crowbar, a bunch of other stuff, but it's not mechanically any different than the other cyborgs. Something I did fail to mention now that I just thought about it. Interestingly enough, you actually need a normal welding tool to even be able to repair a cyborg. The emergency welding tool just burns out of fuel too quickly to even repair a cyborg before they do after bar finishes. So that's just something worth considering, that an emergency welding tool is a waste of time if you're trying to fix a Borg. You could heal up to 299 points of damage. As long as the chassis is still intact, you just use a welding tool, which also makes Syndicate Assault Borgs very powerful for that reason. It's very good healing, but cyborgs don't have any damage reduction, so getting to 300 damage isn't necessarily as hard as it might sound, because you can definitely get tankier as a normal person than that. Literally the last thing I could think of is there's a random event called the Ion Storm, and it can give you just a bunch of goofy laws. Like, I got law 4, death is carrying artificial intelligences, so I don't know what the hell that means. You can interpret that however you want. Ion Storm laws cause a bunch of interesting things. Some of them are just crazy text like that, but I've seen ones that are like, you must prevent the shuttle from arriving. So, like, it literally tells you to go, like, destroy the comms console, basically. But you're not if it's like Law 4, you're not supposed to do that, because that causes crew harm, so it's really just kind of superficial. Alright, anyways, enough droning on. Apologize for the length. Cyborgs are kind of confusing, but hopefully this helps you out, helps you make a few, and maybe even helps you play as a cyborg. Thank you for watching.